It's okay to cry today. You've been holding it in, silent rage with empty pages. It's okay to cry today. Take this change with the grain and plant another seed. Nothing complete, all a heap. It's okay to cry today. Not getting sleep. You've been feeling weak. Mentally beat. It's growth you crave. I've been that slave to the sex trade for a ring, in a house and a spouse, and all those romantic things, but it's okay to cry today. The reason why red ink spills the page, an outburst of the silent rage. I know it hurts, the surge that you avoid daily, the constant maybe. It's okay to cry. Don't hide your face. That's pride. Peace and light. Welcome to a new birth energy podcast via dark matter readings. I am your majestic hostess, Majestica Melanin, and you are tuned in to the high frequency sounds of a experimental sound art piece designed to heal melanated beings and humanity. Thank you for being a dedicated follower, soul family, those who are a part of the New Age Society. Tonight, December 22nd, tonight, December 21st, 2021, during the winter solstice, we are once again coming together to tune into the frequencies of healing, of growing, of analyzing, of knowing who and what and why we are. For those of you who have been following the New Birth Energy podcast via dark matter readings on YouTube, as well as talkshoe.com, I really appreciate your just listenership. I feel like I'm connected to those who are meant to be here, those who are meant to be a part of my journey, the journey of creativity, the journey of healing, and the journey of knowing thyself. So if you're meant to be here, you're meant to be here. And I'm just going to speak freely these first few minutes of the broadcast, just to do a few announcements, as well as to remind any listeners, new people who are just now tuning in, tapping in, to the higher frequencies of existence, I want to remind you all that you are here on purpose. There was something you were supposed to do in your last lifetime. And for some reason, you have navigated this internet, this internet, to basically land here, listening or viewing a new way to experience this thing we call life. And it's not new because we all know that there is nothing new under the sun. Yet, we continue to discover and uncover and regenerate and duplicate and go through a cycle of repetitious living, unknowingly to us. What we choose to do in this existence determines our next life and our next mission. I've been getting some downloads lately, even though I have removed my locks. Such a liberating decision after 7 years. Yet I continue to receive the cosmic downloads necessary to take the next steps toward helping, doing my part in this bigger existence, this bigger mission, this bigger purpose, this collective effort to awaken the masses, to restore the knowledge, the truth, the information, to research and to dig and to uncover and to analyze and to recreate what we know as truth, as fact, to recreate a new way of knowing, to recreate a new way to exist in this social construct that we find ourselves living in, going into the 2022 New Year. And if you have not read the blog, please go to the New Age Society magazine, and you will be able to read in depth just the perspective of where we're headed in the double digits of 2022, what the ramifications will be cosmically, spiritually, collectively for melanated bodies on planet Earth. And that magazine is very new. If you get a chance, just go and skim the article. There will be more. Please subscribe to the site. And we will definitely reach out if you leave your information, you have comments, or you have ideas, or you would like to see different subjects, topics that we will cover in the magazine. We are deciding if it will be monthly or it will be a quarterly magazine to begin. The projects that we are working on are taking up a lot of time. It's the reason why I have not been able to come and do the podcasting as I want to, and I do try to be consistent when I come on. I want to be, thorough, and I want to have something to bring to the listener and not just me babbling on as I'm starting to do now, because we're going on about 10 minutes in. And I know that when I'm listening in on podcasts and people are not getting to the point of what the topic is, I get a little antsy and impatient. So I will attempt to get down to business, get down to our growth, and what the purpose of New Birth Energy podcast existence is for. We're going to continue to speak life, continue to tap into our natural selves, tap into our individual purpose for our existence here on planet Earth and what we're supposed to be doing as a collective as well as on an individual existence. Once again, I am your hostess, Majestica Melanin. You are tapped in to the high frequency sounds of dark matter readings. So much. I'm really right now debating if we're going to go completely independent from the social media campaigning and just, doing business over there. And I do want you guys to keep your head up as to where to find us as we begin to grow as a media production company. We will be coming out with new films, documentaries, various sound art experimental productions that is made to heal the viewer, to awaken the spirit within. And our mission is to make aware of how media affects the masses and how powerful it can be on the psyche, the subconscious, and the mental capacity of human beings and how we exist on the planet. And as I am studying more and more about the evolution of mankind, humans, gods of the planet, animals, the plant kingdom, we all know there is a hierarchy that exists on Earth where some of us would call it survival of the fittest. Some of us would say, what is Darwinism? Which all boils down to may the strongest survive, or smartest, the most clever, the people that can adjust to change, the people that can live off the land without the technology, without the microwaves and the cell phones and the latest watch or smart smart devices that we see our millennials constantly walking with their heads down into the screen that is totally damaging the nervous system, the neural connection of nature. And this is pretty much what I wanted to bring going into 2022. I wanted to touch on this topic because I'm not hearing many people talk about this idea of what we call transhumanism. And let me just kind of explain for those who do not or may not know. Let's break the word up. Me being a etymologist, I always have to split up words and break them down so that we can digest what this concept of transhumanism is. There's many concepts that is connecting the human to the new technology that we see booming right now as we are listening. So trans means across. We know that transportation. We know there's transport, transition. So we know that the word trans, anything that has trans inside of it, means to move across or across something, okay? So we are knowing that transhumanism, so we should all know what humanism is, meaning, it's us. We're mind, body, spirit. We're soul. We're made from dust, dirt, stars, or we come from the stars. We're stardust. Some of us think we are evolved from monkeys. Some think that we just appeared from another planet. So there's all these ideas of how our existence came to be. So many articles in the news concerning the idea of, scientists and biologists and people who are taking gene splicing to a whole nother level, like companies like CRISPR, where they, change your whole DNA by cross connecting tissues from other species and basically making an organism live longer or, changing it totally to be able to possibly heal. And forgive me for the beeping in the background. Let me try to get rid of that noise. Let me plug this up because it's getting on my nerves. But nevertheless, I want us to understand what it is that we're facing heading into this new year. And we all know that the new year is basically March. And did I not do the right thing? Nope. We're heading into March. Okay. March is when we're supposed to really celebrate. Okay. Okay, maybe that'll stop the noise. I apologize. I'll have to... If that distracted anyone, it was distracting me. So I was saying about the new year, entering into 2022, thinking about how things are changing very, very, very quickly at a very fast pace, faster than we have ever had. It's like this year just came, it's going by very quickly if anybody is not paying attention, which has a lot to do with changing from analog to digital. A few years ago, like 20 years now we're going, maybe 10, 15 years. I know 2010 is kind of like when everything started going to digital and fast speed, and we had to all adjust to switch over. Same thing is happening when we are now entering into what they're calling the metaverse. And we know that a meta means above and beyond. Metaphysics. We have been studying the metaphysics on this channel. I often share metaphysical books with you guys, just to tap in to the unseen world. So we are going to be very careful entering into the metaverse that Mark Zuckerberg has now introduced on a greater scale. Now, some of us who have already been dipping and dabbing, like myself, like some of my colleagues, we have already been knowing about things such as NFTs, things as the cryptocurrency, the blockchain, the DeFi, and we've been just kind of getting ahead of what we knew that corporate America would actually latch on to once we made it what it is, because it takes the people. A lot of times the people are who create new ideas. Example, FedEx. Somebody decided, I want to get something there tomorrow, and they created it, and it was quickly snatched away by the government. And that is a story you can look up. Like, the government did not create overnight mail. So things like that, ideas, we latch onto a concept of really virtual reality. If you want to think about the metaverse, is like how I just remember playing the PS2, I believe, and there was a home button. You used to go in there. I used to play chess with people. I had an avatar on, and it was an avatar of the alien. I actually bought it because I wanted to be different than everybody else. They were like walking around looking human, and they had on different outfits and things like this. So if you think about what an NFT is, all you need to think about is, just like I purchased the avatar of the alien, that would be an NFT today. That would be worth so much money because I own it. Only a certain population of people could afford it. Maybe they won't sell it anymore. They might sell 20 copies of that, so it's like exclusive. Nobody else can get it. And that's what makes an item valuable. That is what they call non-fungible token. And you can basically put that on anything. Let's back up and come out of the virtual world. Let's go into like our real world, what we feel like is reality, where we have an actual physical item. Things like baseball card, trading cards, old magazines, one-of-a-kind antiques, things that you know that nobody else has. That is your NFT. Let's think about, it can pretty much be anything worth value. If you can create a digital quality or value for that thing, you can flip it with cryptocurrency and be able to exchange it back into fiat dollars. That we are going to learn soon that our fiat, like the dollar bill, that is floating connected to nothing, which used to be connected to gold. So that's what makes it fiat. There's no longer a gold connection to our dollar bill. So therefore, we have to understand that our dollars are worthless. Our dollars are only what we believe it is to be. So if I believe this is worth something, that's the only thing that's making this dollar stand. And the United States is doing everything in their power to make our belief in this dollar bill relevant. I mean, they want us to believe in this money factor, and it's not working anymore. It's failing. If you don't notice, the dollar is losing value fast. We are all running to buy cryptocurrency. We are all going digital. We're putting our money into trust. We are investing into things that, we can flip later, like the NFTs, like real estate, things that we can actually see, appreciate over time. Okay, so I need us to start thinking about how technology is going to be intruding onto our spiritual selves, onto our souls. I mean, deeply. It's going I want to tie in I guess this man was an author. He was some call him a prophet. Some call him he just was smart like an Einstein. But very few people talk about this man, and this is what brings me to transhumanism, the media, and how it changes our bodies. It actually is connected, intertwined to our physiological. And when I say physiological, we are talking about organs and nervous systems in our brains, and how we develop as a collective, as a human existence. How are we going to, stop our children from becoming these robots, in a sense, this AI, artificial intelligence? I have studied about how they are storing your consciousness when you pass away, when your physical body is no longer able to, maintain that what they say, 3%, 2%, 7%. There's 7% of just spirit. So that 7% is your consciousness. The actual, when you close your eyes and you just meditate, people who are tapping into spirit, soul, that part of you, that unseen, that meta part of your body is actually being removed when you go into this metaverse. You have to know that you're exchanging energies, you're exchanging forces. When you enter into the metaverse, you are now telling your subconscious and your conscious at the same time that I am now here in another realm. No, I know it's not real, but my subconscious does not know this. So now you're disconnecting your conscious from your subconscious, as you do when you are not interacting into this new world, virtual. Okay, we do that at a certain extent if you are not what we call awake or woke or whatever they're saying. Really, it's just awareness. It's the awareness that you know who you are at all times, and you control what is entering and exiting your spirit, and how you're expressing it, and what you're taking in and accepting. And your subconscious becomes powerful once you become strong enough to say, okay, I know what this is about. I know how they are slowly controlling my behaviors and my emotions, because I'm not in control of the subconscious realm, which is the dark realm, which is the unseen realm, which is the metaverse within. Transhumanism is their attempt to transfer your soul, your human particles, your mind into another realm, which is the fifth dimension, 5G, which is going up into a whole other force field. So a frequency that if you're not prepared for, and mind you, I am not telling anyone not to go get money in the metaverse. That's just another opportunity to get paid for artists. That's why I'm so big into NFTs. If I'm not big into the digital real estate, because that is another area where it is very lucrative if you know what you're doing. And you need to make sure you're doing research and you're studying the ins and outs, the scams, the hustles, and you know there's going to be loopholes. There's going to be people who know how to trick you into doing something, because it is becoming very popular. Even celebrities, A-list celebrities, are jumping onto it. Big corporations like Disney, Marvel, all these corporate entities who are now once again following the masses, the collective. And more than not, it is the younger generation who fuels these changes in money exchanges, in social exceptions, or legislature, even law. The changes that people are constantly fighting for, it takes a force to do that. And now they are removing the force to gather physically. Because remember, our ancestors, they literally gathered together physically. They met underground. They met low key. If they were doing liberation work, revolutionary work, they were not preoccupied with what the masses were doing. They were somewhere attempting to be unseen. They were totally meta, if you want to say unseen. They were just strategizing and planning how to even get like people like what is his name? Eldris Cleaver out of the country, part of the Black Panthers. Assata Shakur, they broke her out of prison by having these private meetings, these low key. No one knew where the location was until it was the time. And they were so serious about the liberation of Black people, melanated bodies, indigenous people, and even into the African diaspora. Okay, so let's not forget, because the more that we move into this new era, this new time, this new way of life, this technological advanced existence, let's never ever forget the ancestors and how they did things simplified. They did things logically. They did things simply to do something on purpose. They didn't do it all fancy. They wasn't making all these videos. They wasn't singing, making songs on YouTube and all these platforms. They was not just making memes, talking about some pray for this one. No hashtags was on social media, and everybody was just liking it. No, they were not doing these things. And this is what I miss about the revolutionaries of the past. And we must bring this back. Okay? We must bring this back. And, tonight I'm just in a good mood. I'm feeling the energy that, the cosmos is really cutting up, you guys. You really need to look at the star system. I can't even get into it. That's a whole nother podcast. And as you guys remember, all last year I was doing a moon series. Go to my Behance website, behance.com, poetic photos. And you will see the moon series that I was doing all 2020. And some of this year as well. And the moon has really been changing. There is a second sun out there. I have photos of it. A sun bigger than the one we think we know. And we've always known that there was a second sun. So let's just put it all together, guys, because we are connected. Somewhere, somehow, there's something returning. And where have we heard the return of something? Our Christians. We know that there's a return of Jesus. There's a return of, God's Son, right? And our doggone ancestors, the most ancient of tribes, knew about Sirius B before the Europeans and these pseudoscientists is what I like to call them now. Those who changed the history books to exclude black bodies and their participation and their contributions to astronomy and astrology and NASA and things that they are claiming to this day. And they go in and they alter just to discredit black scholars, black historians, those who have done great works, some of our great master teachers, some of our ancestors who lived and died poor, attempting to give us this information, and you guys are going to just overlook and pretend that our greatest scholars, people who went blind reading thousands of books, digging in books that you were too afraid to even open up or too ignorant to even know existed, because your enemies tricked you into forgetting the information of your very ancestors who you know for sure lived and breathed on this planet. You know they did, or else you would not be here. Okay, so let's get back to the transhumanism, because I want to stay on topic. The man I was talking about, I know I got off topic, but his name is McLuhan. You need to look him up. And what I'm going to do is, I know that this is a listening podcast, but I also have a visual copy that I create to complement the audio. So those of you who go over to the Dark Matter Readings page on YouTube, you will be able to see who this man is. McLuhan, he is the man who came out with, and I'm going to get his first name in a second. Right now, it's just his last name that's coming to me. First name is going to come in a second, but he's responsible for the term, "The media is the message." Now, when they first printed this quote by this man, he was kind of like a lecturer. He would go to colleges speaking to the students about, how the television. Now, mind you, this is a time where people only listen to radio. So the fact that people were for the first time actually seeing visual. So just imagine when we first got introduced to the internet, we didn't know what the hell we was doing. We was on these chat lines. I remember AOL, Black Planet, I don't know. Y'all probably know some. But I'm just saying, we didn't know what we was doing. It was brand new, and we had no clue how it would affect us 10, 20 years from, back then. We wasn't thinking like that. We just knew, new technology. Boom, we getting on here. I can be whoever I want to be on here. Create profiles, talk to people I ain't never talked to. So this was the same kind of concept when it came to television, color television, at that, being introduced into society in the psyche of people. So it was a big fear of what these images and print, images versus print. Print was another new technology. Remember, people did not write. So when you start looking down at the letters, your mind starts doing its own thing. And this McLuhan, he also spoke about Africans and the effect that print had on Africans, because Africans were an oral people. They did not write things down. This is another reason why it's difficult for, melanated beings to trace some of their paperwork, ancestors on paper, because we were an oral history type of a family. We just pass stories down from generation to generation. We remembered it, we passed it to our kids, and that was that. We didn't start learning to read and write until the Europeans came over, changed our language, changed our traditions, our culture, and basically indoctrinated us into the English way of living. And you have what you see today. Now, back then, it wasn't so integrated. So therefore, this Caucasian man, speaking to a room full of Caucasian students from like Harvard and Yale and all these, Stanford, and you can Google him, McLuhan, McLuhan. Oh, let me type his name, because I want you guys. I don't want to have to redo anything. So what I'm gonna do is search his name, McLuhan. But he just kind of predicted the effects of the internet. Now, mind you, the internet was never in existence, wasn't thought about. We had no clue what the internet would have been back there. I believe it was 1970s. Marshall McLuhan. Okay, Marshall McLuhan. I think I'm saying his name right. Marshall McLuhan. I'm typing it in now so I can give y'all some accurate information. Okay, now this guy was very important, even though, this information was not for what the so-called African American, black, McLuhan. Okay, boom, right here. 1977. There's a 1967. This is Marshall McLuhan. The medium is the message. Okay, very important, very important. He is the first man to talk about the global village, and how the media was the message, not the media, the medium. So let's know the difference between the media. Okay, that's what we watch. That's other people talking to us. We listen to the media all day. Okay, the medium is actually the device that the media expresses itself from, if you want to put it like that. So his idea I found very, very significant. Okay, and you have to go to one of his videos, preferably, and some of you guys might have heard of him already. Now, when I first heard of him, maybe like 4 years ago, I was totally like blown away about, just from his insights into the internet, which he called the global village. He did not know that it was going to be called the internet. He basically called it the human global village. And I have to get some more details about, because I have this whole study research that I have been waiting to share with you guys. And right now I'm basically going off memory, but I kind of like doing it like that so I can always go back and incorporate some of the things I may have left out. But There's a lecture he does in 1974 called Living in an Acoustic World. That's when radio was the big thing, okay? Then he goes but mind you, in 1965, he was still speaking about the future of man in the electric age. And that's the video you need to type in on YouTube or look it up online. And he just basically correlates masterfully how the message is affected by what type of medium that it is delivered by. So be a computer, the cell phone, the radio, the laptop, the tablet, okay? It matters which medium that your message is basically delivered from. And it basically affects your physiological makeup, your DNA, to your nervous system, to how you behave. And there's different effects. And he predicted half a century ago. Okay. So what we're dealing with today, Marshall McLuhan predicted it. Okay. He was saying a lot about the end of the polite society, to, where we will have no privacy. People will just invade it. We will basically be inside of our homes, socializing, and we will be trying to go outside to have our privacy, which is totally backwards. Okay, so he basically was debating nature and media, just as I do all the time. Nature meaning your mind, body, spirit, that soul that we all possess as humans, that we can never get away from, that metaverse that we have inside of us. Okay, and when you walk into Mark Zuckerberg's metaverse, you need to know thyself, or you will not come out of it. It's like going into the rabbit hole. And I love to quote the what's the show I was watching? The Originals? Not the Originals. It may be the Originals, but I know that they were speaking about going in the ice. So the internet is compared to sliding on top of a lake that's frozen over. So you're just sliding on top of the ice. That's the internet. But once you enter the metaverse, it's like going underneath the ice, going so deep under, and then when you come up, you totally changed and altered your whole existence. So I need us to take that analogy seriously. So playing into the metaverse, you need to understand your purpose of going in, so that you can return back to your spiritual body, because you're loaning your spiritual body into this space when you go in and you start encountering virtual beings who behind it has another spirit or soul that is controlling it. And we don't know what type of soul that is. We don't know if that person is going through something. We don't know if that person is just escaping their own reality, and they're seeking, they want to take advantage, or what is it? If you're not about purpose in 2022, you're really lost, and you're missing out on the best part of this existence, because it is truly a beautiful time to be alive. And if you guys do not feel that, even though it looks shitty, this whole pandemic, whatever they calling it, the Greek letter alphabet, all the fear-based things that we're going through, this is a test of your total mental stamina, spiritual stamina, okay? Integrity. Your healing journey depends on the changes that are occurring rapidly. We are in the quickening. Once again, go back, rewind some of the podcasts that I have done since 2017, 2016, 2018. I have been putting out information concerning media propaganda, the manipulation of melanated bodies, the harvesting of organs that are filled with melanin, the pineal gland addiction of certain entities on this planet that fuels their survival, the fear of being replaced by a more dominant, powerful being or species is an subconscious fear of some of these insecurists, and we have spoken about those types. I can see the changes that people are unifying. There's a lot of people standing up for their rights. There's a lot of people speaking out. They're not afraid. We see a lot of deaths occurring to melanated people. It's like an ongoing, it's just ongoing. It's just, guys, you already know. I don't even have to speak on it, because when I speak about it, it's like, oh, they want me to get over it, but I'm not sure how. Okay, therefore, let's talk about it. I'm going to have to look into my notes. And that was basically an intro, and that was pretty good, because I really been waiting to get a lot out. Let me see if it's still okay. 50 minutes we've been going, and I think again, Marshall McLuhan, McLuhan is his last name. Type in the electric age, future of man in the electric age. Now, he talked about this in 1965. Okay, very, very powerful information concerning our physiological connection to artificial intelligence, how it will change the psyche and the very existence of humankind. It changes your brain. It changes your behavior. I want to get a little bit more detailed about it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to play a little excerpt, and let's hope we get some good stuff.
In a sense, you've been a historian as you've gone about your work. And let's talk first a little, if we may, about your book, The Gutenberg Galaxy, where you argue that for a long time, without actually understanding it, we've been living in a culture in which our whole way of looking at the world has been determined by typography, by the successiveness of print and so on. Would you like to enlarge on that a bit?
And before we continue, guys, I just want to claim the Fair Use Act, where I am using this footage. I do not own the rights of publishing or anything. I am using it just for the purposes of education and criticism, and to make my people aware, and that is legal.
Well, I remember I decided to write that book when I came across a piece by J.C. Carruthers, a psychiatrist, on the African mind in health and disease, describing the effects of the printed word on the African populations. It startled me and decided me to plunge in. But we have a better opportunity in seeing our old technologies when they confront other populations elsewhere in the world. The effects they have on those people are so startling and so sudden that we have an opportunity to see what happened to us over many centuries.
Yes, which we couldn't see because we're inside the system. Yeah. Don't you say that what happened was that we got used to having our information processed as it is in print. That is to say, it's set out successively, whereas at the root of your thoughts, perhaps, there's the view that we can see the world as an image instantaneously, but that we've chosen, under the pressure of a technology, to set it out successively like a block of print.
Well, every technology has its own ground rules, as it were. It decides all sorts of arrangements in other spheres. The fact of script and the ability to make inventories and collect data and store data changed many social habits and processes back as early as 3000 BC. However, that's about as early as scripts began. The effects of rearranging one's experience, organizing one's experience by these new extensions of our powers, are quite unexpected. Perhaps one way of putting it is to say that writing represents a high degree of specializing of our powers.
Yes.
Compared to pre-literate societies, there is a considerable concentration on one faculty when you develop a skill like scripting.
And this is the visual, what you call a visual.
Yes, this is a highly specialized stress compared to anything in ordinary oral societies. There have been many studies made of this in various ways. But in our own Western world, the rise of the phonetic alphabet seems to have had much to do with Platonic culture and the ordering of experience in the terms of ideas, classifying of data and experience by ideas.
You mean that sight has become...
So y'all hear that? Classification of ideas. And did you hear him say the thing about Africans' minds, where they can study themselves based on the experiences of Africans being exposed to script for the first time. And if you listen to these people, they are Europeans, and back then they did not consider melanated people really as human beings. So they basically studied us a lot. And if you listen very carefully to this insert, I need you guys to pay attention. Okay, listen very carefully, and there's some good things in here that you can take away. So I'm going to continue, and I'm going to come in sometimes, but not really, but we're going to discuss it.
In the preeminent sense, as it was for Plato, and it went on being so in so-called civilized as opposed to primitive societies.
Increasingly so.
Till it reached the climax with the invention of printing.
Printing stepped it up to a considerable pitch, yes.
Now, how would you describe the impact of the invention of the printing press? Give us some instances of what happened as a consequence of this.
It created almost overnight. It created what we call a nationalism. What in effect was a public. Our old manuscript forms were not sufficiently powerful instruments of technology to create publics in the sense that print was able to do.
Okay, y'all heard that. Print was able to unify and make a public. As before, how we communicated was not so powerful because, remember, they hoarded information. Only the mystics had the information. When they invented that printing press, okay, that changed the world. The same with the metaverse that we are now entering, the transhumanism that is happening right now. Okay, so let's take this into context. He's talking about something in the past that was introduced into society and how it changed our minds, our behavior. It created a whole public. Okay, there was not a public before. The printing press, which is another technology that mankind had not seen on a massive level. Let's continue.
Homogeneous reading publics. Everything that we prize in our Western world in matters of individualism, separatism, and of unique point of view, a private judgment, all those factors are highly favored by the printed word and not really favored by other forms of culture, like radio or earlier even by manuscript. But this stepping up of the fragmented, the private, the individual, the private judgment, the point of view, in fact, our whole vocabularies underwent huge change. with the arrival of such technology.
Could I ask you now about the technology which, on your view, is superseding it and which is having its own effect on our lives, comparable with, but of course entirely different in kind to the Gutenberg
the Gutenberg technology was mechanical to an extreme degree. In fact, it originated a good deal of the later mechanical revolution, assembly line style, and the fragmentation of operations and functions as the very rationale of industrialization.
Yes.
This fragmentation had begun much earlier with after the hunter and the food gatherers with Neolithic man. I suppose in an extreme way one might say that Gutenberg was the last phase of the Neolithic Revolution. Gutenberg plus the Industrial Revolution that followed was a pushing up specialism that came in with the Neolithic man.
Okay, Gutenberg, he's talking about Gutenberg. Gutenheimer, did he say Gutenheimer? I know that Gutenheimer has a museum here. And if this is the same museum, this man has the first printed Bible. Okay, he was responsible for distributing the first printed Bible. I actually seen it. I have a few videos that I, was able to get when I was in there, as well as many African artifacts that they have usurped from these African countries and cultures, and when I was in there, I just felt like it was a place of just stolen artifacts. Okay. And I'm going to show, if I can find some of that footage, I will definitely show. But if this is who he's speaking of, Gutenheimer, I believe he said Gutenheimer, or Gutenberg. I have to make sure, but if he's speaking of this man, he's talking about this man was, he revolutionized the new era of revolutionizing paleontology. Okay, so that's just basically our ancestors who did not use technology. Okay, they use technology, their type of technology, because a hammer is a technology. It's an extension of your hand. Okay, and a hammer is an extension of your hand. The phone is an extension of your ear. The TV is an extension of your eyes. So let's put it into perspective. Not the television. Let's say eyeglasses. Eyeglasses is a technology for your eyes. The pencil, the pen. Okay, remember they used to dip the pen into the ink before they decided, oh, let's put the ink inside the pen. That was a brand new technology people were flipping out about. So now we are expanding, growing as a race of people, human beings on this earth, discovering, uncovering, creating, building, revolutionizing, innovating. They're doing all these things that God gave us to do. And if this man is telling you back in 1960s, okay, what these things are doing to the human race, are you part of the human race? Okay, or are we going to claim gods? Are we gods or are we human? Which one? You decide. But I want to keep going because this is like 5 minutes in, but I think there's some gems in here, and if it gets too long, I'm going to jump back in. But when he makes certain points, we're going to talk about it, okay? And I want you guys to kind of rewind, go back, let it marinate, let it sit in your psyche, and understand where you're about to enter into as soon as 2022 enters. We're already here. We're already here. This man predicted this years ago. Okay? Half a century ago. Let's keep going. Marshall McLuhan, 1965. The Future of Man in the Electric Age. I do not own the rights. This is for educational purposes. All right. And let's keep going.
Agrarian Revolution, a pushing of specialism all the way, and then suddenly we encounter the electric or electromagnetism, which seems to have a totally different principle. Is it, for some people feel, an extension of our nervous system, not an extension of merely of our bodies. If the wheel is an extension of feet and tools of hands, back, arms, the electromagnetism seems to be in its technological manifestations an extension of our nerves. And
y'all hear that? Extension of your nerves. The electromagnetic field is an extension of your nervous system. Nervous systems. Oh my God, let's go.
Becomes mainly an information system. It is above all a feedback or looped system. The peculiarity, you see, after the age of the wheel, you suddenly encounter the age of the circuit. The wheel pushed to an extreme suddenly acquires opposite characteristics. This seems to happen with a good many technologies, that if they get pushed to a very distant point, they reverse their characteristics.
What difference is the electric technology making to our interest in content, in what the medium actually says?
A very common business, I'm sure, but one of the effects of switching over to circuitry from mechanical moving parts.
Okay, listen very carefully.
And wheels is an enormous increase in the amount of information that is moving. You cannot cope with vast amounts of information in the old fragmentary classified patterns. You tend to go looking for mythic and structural forms in order to manage such complex data and moving at very high speeds. So the electric engineers often speak of pattern recognition as a normal need of people processing data electrically and by computers and so on. Need for pattern recognition. It's a need which the poets foresaw a century ago in their drive back to mythic forms of organizing experience.
Well, here we are.
Okay, y'all hear that? Did y'all? That was so powerful. That's the part I wanted y'all to know. You heard that, okay? Let's talk about it. He said the poets could feel the pattern. If you have so much information moving at a fast speed, so much of it all at once, what is going to happen? This is what we're in today, the internet. So much information, data, processing, applications, all this information moving all at once at the same time. Let's go. Let's go.
A couple of archaic literate men, Gutenberg men, talking on the television. What is the audience getting from this? Is it listening to what we're saying, or is it feeling the impact of a new electric medium?
There is a book called "Is Anybody Listening?" It's what worries the advertising man a great deal. The idea of feed.
Okay, y'all heard that. What's it called? Let's rewind that. The book. He said get a book. We about to see what book it is.
Talking on the television. What is the audience getting from this? Is it listening to what we're saying, or is it feeling the impact of a new electric medium?
There is a book called "Is Anybody Listening?"
Is anybody listening? He didn't say the author, but we're going to try to find that book. Is anybody listening? Now, the interviewer, he's asking about audio. So, once again, you are listening to the podcast. So, let's see what he says about audio and how audio affects us as well.
It's what worries the advertising man a great deal. The idea of feedback, of being involved in one's, participating in one's own audience participation, is a natural product of this circuitry. Everything under electric conditions is looped. You become folded over into yourself, into your image of yourself changes completely.
Okay, the image of yourself changes completely. How? Y'all don't see all these fake people on the internet? Y'all don't see all these fake profiles and people trying to be something that they're not? Y'all don't see that? Okay, let's keep going.
Other books, the more recent one, where you, Understanding Media, where you go into all this, use as a kind of slogan, I think, the expression, the medium is the message. Would you like to illuminate that?
I think it is more satisfactory to say that any medium, be it radio or be it wheel, tends to create a completely new human environment.
Okay, so he's about to talk about the medium is the message. So pay close attention, because that's what I was talking about in the beginning of this broadcast, about Marshall McLuhan talking about the medium is the message. And now there was a mistake printed when this came out about the medium is the massage. They misspelled the word message and they put the A in there and it was massage, which ironically means the same exact thing. So I'll let you guys play with the word massage. And medium is the message, or is medium the massage? And it makes perfect sense. But let's keep listening.
The human environment is, as such, tends to have a kind of invisible character about it. The unawareness of the environmental is compensated for by some attention to the content of the environment. The environment as merely a set of ground rules and as a kind of overall enveloping force gets very little recognition as a form, except from the artist. I think our arts, if you look at them in this connection, do throw quite a lot of light on environments. The artist is usually engaged in somewhat excitedly explaining to people the character of new environments and new strategies of culture necessary to cope.
Y'all hear that? Artists always explaining new environments and the ramifications of that environment. And they always say, if you want to know about history, go find the artists of that time. Sorry, I'm going to back it up a little bit so you guys don't miss what he's saying, because I think that was important about the artist. So any artist out there, know how important you are. I am an artist. I am, truly. Okay, this is why I bring this information to you guys. This is verification. This is validation right here. So I'm going to rewind just a few seconds back.
As a form, except from the artist. I think our arts, if you look at them in this connection, do throw quite a lot of light on environments. The artist is usually engaged in somewhat excitedly explaining to people the character of new environments and new strategies of culture necessary to cope with them. Blake is an extreme case of a man who was absolutely panicked by the kind of new environment that he saw forming around him under the auspices of Newton and Locke and industrialism. He thought it was going to smash the unity of the imaginative and sensory life all to bits. But the artist, what he was
that's the
insisting upon in his own lifetime became quite a popular and widespread movement later on.
Yeah, can I return to television? Because here we are, where whoever's listening to us is also undergoing the impact of television at the moment. On your view, they're all deceiving themselves insofar as they're paying attention to what we're saying, because what's going on is a medium which is in itself the image that they ought to be concerning themselves with.
So you heard that. He said we are deceived by just sitting here listening to them, because the image of what we're seeing is what we need to be concerned with, not what we're hearing. It's the image or the visual. Okay, let's make sure we listening, because I'm learning at the same time. Even though I've already listened to this man, every time I listen to it, I hear something new. So you guys need to rewind this podcast. I haven't seen anybody speaking of this man, so you heard it here first. Okay, the future of man in the electric age was already predicted over half a century ago.
The medium of television has many characteristics which have been unheeded. Mostly it is seen under the aspect of movie form. The TV camera does not have a shutter, does not take pictures. It handles, it picks up, as radio picks up, the TV camera picks up its environment, handles it, scans it, and the effect of the TV image is iconic. in the sense that it shapes things by contours rather than by little snapshots.
Now, this is one of the words that you use a good deal, iconic. I think we'd better be clear what...
Okay, let's talk about it. Snapshots. And I teach this in my film courses, where a movie, when you're sitting watching a film, a movie is actually a series of photographs. So you can basically create a film by taking a shot list. Okay? So he's saying that it creates a contour, a different kind of effect on the viewer when you're watching it visually. Okay, let's kind of figure out what he's saying.
Well, I think of it again to tie in with Blake. His whole insistence upon the engraved, the highly patterned and highly sculptured forms and images. The iconic in that sense is very low in visual quality, very high in tactual quality. Active touch, not cutaneous, but active touch, as the psychologist
you call television a tactile medium?
Iconic medium. Having much in common with the cartoon, for which it is ideally suited, much more well suited than for pictures.
If you feel that we are going to have to come to terms, or we are coming to terms, much more than typographical man with this kind of instantaneous image, and I'd like now just to ask you about the distinction that you draw between different kinds of media within the electric technology. You call some, such as television, cool, and some, such as radio, hot. Now, what does this mean?
Okay, cool and hot. He's about to explain. There's this theory of he basically manned the term cool medium and hot medium. Okay, because certain technology is hot and some are cool. Okay, so you have to study Marshall McLuhan, and some of my film students already know what cool medium is and what hot medium is. Okay, so listen very closely so you can know the difference between the two. So when you're absorbing this technology, you can understand what it's doing. It's affecting inside of your actual body, your physiological makeup.
It has to do with the slang phrase, the hot and the cool, which puzzles many people. The way it's used in slang reverses the meaning of cool. Cool in the slang form has come to mean involved, deeply participative, deeply engaged. Everything that we had formerly meant by heated argument is now called cool in slang. Cool, though the idea that cool it has reversed its meaning, I think has some bearing on the fact that our culture has shifted a good deal of its stress into a demand that we be more committed, more involved in the situations in which we ordinarily work and experience.
A cool...
So y'all see what he's saying? He's saying the cool medium means you're heavily involved in it. And over time, it switched meaning. Because remember, there's a term like, oh, they was in a heated argument, and that means you really involved. Like, heated means you about to get physical, you know what I'm saying, in a sense. But he's saying that cool medium is it reversed over time, and that's a sign of the stress of society, that it totally flipped the definition. Okay, so now our cool means really hot, like involved. You're actually engaged, and you're heavily engaged. Okay, so the interviewer is about to go back. He's going to ask him a follow-up, I believe, about cool. So let's think about, what are you heavily engaged in? You're involved in cool medium, and let's see what it does to you. Okay,
this is real cool.
Yes.
Jazz, as compared with classical music, has many of these aspects of discontinuity and very much room for fill-in.
Yes.
But where the information or data level is low, the fill-in or participation is high. If you fill the situation with complex data, the opportunity for completion fill-in is less, and participation is less.
Now, this reminds me to ask you what I think is pretty important about your work, that if you've got phases like this, which are determined technologically, one can not only speak about the kind of the state of affairs we now have, one can also, to some degree, do some prediction. Now, I think in understanding media, you sometimes write as if we'd got on, if we'd pushed on deeper into electric technology than we actually have. But you do venture some predictions about the kind of life, the kind of quality of feeling that we're going to have with the new alteration in our senses. Could you say something about that?
Well, I remember when I was here 2 years ago, after a long absence, I was quite startled at the upsurge of regional dialects in England as compared with 20 years earlier, and the relative decline of standard and homogeneous English, and the quite proud display of dialects that I had hardly heard before when I lived here. This drive in depth toward a regional depth of culture is a normal feature of electronic forms because of this circuitry that involves us deeper and deeper in ourselves. The French separatists, for example, at the present time in Quebec, are very much related to this new image they have of themselves in television, a depth image.
The vision.
Okay, separatists. Because of this television, they have this concept of themselves. They have created this image of themselves. It's a false image. Okay, he's talking about today's white supremacists, those people who think they're better than the low income, lower economic level people, those people who have created this image on television. False. Okay, so let's keep listening because this is very, very interesting. Thank you for staying connected to New Birth Energy podcast, and you are tuned in to Dark Matter Readings. Learn something today. All right, I'm always bringing something you can use, something that will help you in this journey. Okay, you are listening to Marshall McLuhan, 1965, The Future of Man in the Electric Age.
Of the future that your book could leave one with is one a big brother image in a sense. You speak of for example, programming cultures. For instance, you say that if the South African scene looks like getting too hot because of an overdose of radio, we program a lot of television, cool them off. This kind of interference with what the typographical literate man calls human rights.
We have never stopped interfering drastically with ourselves by every technology we could latch on.
You hear that? They talking about interfering with the Africans. He asked them, how does he feel about the technology interfering with Africans? Okay, even back then, they're trying to manipulate Africans with the technology. This is just a low-key way of saying it without saying it. But if you can read between these lines, why he keeps bringing up Africans? Because they know that the melanin is affected by electricity, the electromagnetic field. We absorb it. Our melanin is an entity of its own. It does what it wants to do. It's affected by outside things, and we can't control it sometimes. It's chaos. And if they can control it with the magnetic field that we're dealing with today, we're talking about 5G, we're talking about the Jabberwocky, we're talking about all this new technology that's changing the DNA, and they're taking your blood, and they're trying to see what's going on with the DNA and what's happening with the effects of the blood. Y'all need to pay attention. Listen to these people. They're talking about what the television. He said we can just cool them off. Oh, we'll just give them some radio, which is hot medium. You're not too engaged in it because you're just kind of listening indirectly. Like right now, you're listening to me. You're just chilling. You're probably working on something else. You're not too heavily involved. You're not physically involved. You're not trying to, engage. You're just listening. And this is what radio is. And this is why I love experimental sound art. Because sound is a very powerful medium. It depends on the medium. I'm giving the message through the medium of sound. This is why I don't have a lot of visual. I love the fact that I can, I can create and make impact through beautiful sounds. The sound is what we began language. Language began with sound. So now they introduce visual, the script, the printing press, the television. And they're talking about Africans. Oh my goodness. Y'all can't. Okay. Let's keep going. I went on a little rant, but it's almost over. We got about 1 minute left. All right, let's go.
We have absolutely disrupted.
And you think this might
our lives over and over again,
lead us into a kind of electric totalitarianism?
I think I think the logic, if unimpeded, the logic of this sort of electric world is stasis.
Yes. Out of this, forgive me for interrupting again.
Yes.
I was going to ask you, where do you see, is there a terminus, or should we always go from the thesis of typography to the...
I think if there is a logic, and a hopeful one, that appears in this, it is the dispelling of all unconscious aspects of our lives altogether, that we, in order to live with ourselves in such depth, in such instant feedback situations, we have to understand everything, so that our easygoing lolling about in the lap of the unconscious cannot endure. That we will have to take over the total human environment as an artifact. But it seems to be forced upon us. The need to become completely autonomous and aware of all the consequences of everything we're doing before the consequences occur is where we're heading.
Boom. Y'all heard that? Y'all heard that? Oh my God! I gotta play the last part because I was taking a few notes, but I hope you guys were too. But I may end that with on the end of this, just how he summed it up. Okay, we have to understand everything. Living in the lap of unconsciousness. I know he heard that. And we have to treat our human environment as an artifact. What's that mean? Something from the past? This is why I tell you guys, do not forget the ancestors. Document everything. If you have to have a living archive in your house, in your basement, you need to keep grandma's books, great-grandma's writings, great-great-great-grandma's pictures and her journals and things like that for oral history for the melanated races who have basically lost everything from these type of institutions, who have colonized information, who has manipulated masses of people with these technologies that they create, often using our human DNA from Africans, from melanated beings, from studying and experimenting on black women, their organs, their ovaries, their wombs. And this man, as prophetic as he was, and as he is, because we are definitely using the electrical things that he's sitting here warning us about and how it's connected neurologically. Okay? Go back and please rewind. Now, we've been on here like an hour, and this is what I really wanted to get out, and I'm so glad that I went ahead and did it, and I wanted to at least give you guys a head start into 2022 and just to be prepared for what to expect with this artificial intelligence. Look up the new, arrivals of these artificial robots that they're creating that basically to replace melanin. And I'm just serious. Melanin does everything that this artificial intelligence does. It's a living entity. It's a living molecule. It wants to live. It can be manipulated, but it changes constantly. It's unpredictable. It's a reason that they study a lot of people who are melanated. And it's just a fact. It's nature. It's nothing against people who lack the melanin that, I'm speaking about. And I always remind my non-melanated beings that you have to have a little bit of melanin in order to even be living. So therefore, you are melanated. You just don't express it on the outside of your body. You have melanin in your eyes, your organs, your underneath your skin, in your tissues. It's just not expressed on the outside of your being. Therefore, because black people, aka melanated, indigenous, African Americans, Africans, whatever you guys are naming us this year, we are filled with this stuff. And I'm not going to stop talking about it. And I understand that some people get upset when I bring the information. And that's okay. This information is not for you. But I know that when I speak about the melanin factor, a lot of people get offended. But more of my people get excited. And they want to know more. And they want to know what it is. Because it fuels them and it brings the confidence necessary for them to start the steps of experiencing themselves and who they really are on this earth, why they are here purposefully. We will live purposefully in 2022. Let's claim it. Let's speak it into existence. Let's override this matrix that we find ourselves in. It's not a coincidence that they're coming out with the new Matrix movie. All the movies, the 007 movie is a copy of what is happening with the vaccine right now, how they can manufacture certain vaccines for certain populations, certain genetic makeups, and they can target communities of people. Who remembers history? Who are the people that is most likely that will be targeted by bioweapons if that is what is happening in the United States? Why are there so many stories? Why can't we get a clear understanding, a clear description, definition of what vaccinated means? And I'm using that so I can get an understanding, so you can stop changing the end goal. Every time I reach the goal, you change it and you make it further. Now I have to get extra, extra, extra. Okay? And I don't want to use some of these terms because, of course, the silencing and, censoring of certain voices is getting ridiculous. Shout out to Rizza Islam. Okay? We need to wake up in 2022. The veil is falling. It's being lifted. You will not be able to hide anything in 2022. As hard as you may try, no matter what you do, if you are a liar, if you are a cheater, if you are a thief, if you are a murderer or anything conniving, manipulative, if you are a narcissist, The narcissist will catch it this year. Those of you who do not realize that you are a narcissist, where everything is surrounded by you and you abuse people who do not give you what you want, and you manipulate people's emotions and their weaknesses to benefit and to pocket, and you are a liar. You lie. All that is done in 2022. I have enough of you narcissists lying, ungrateful, cheating, manipulating. Just your spirit is dead. There's no more of that. We have no more room for those type of people. Those type of spirits must go by the wayside. That's why they say only a chosen few. We're going to have to leave a lot of people behind. They gotta go. And if you are not tapped in, it's too late for you. If you need to do a lot of studying. It's taken me years to build my spiritual growth is on fleek. And nothing or nobody is going to bring me down, tumble me down. Yes, of course, I go through my little spurts and bouts of challenges with myself, and am I happy with what I'm doing, and am I on the right path, which is very normal for anyone. And if you're living and existing on this planet right now, I guarantee you go through the same emotional up and down roller coasters. But the difference between those who can overcome those false emotions appearing real, those who have not mastered the strategy of controlling emotions and not speaking when you're angry, and not lashing out and blaming and all of those things that make you low frequency, talking about people constantly. You have nothing else to do but get on the phone and talk about what somebody else is doing. You haven't sat down one day and try to work on yourself. You haven't asked yourself not once, what is it am I supposed to be doing, God? Allah, Jehovah, whatever you want to call him, creator, higher power, let's call him something. Him or her, he or she. Now they doing them or they. Okay, let's go with it, because God might be a woman too. We hear everybody saying he is the head of my life. He done been good to me. How you know it ain't a she? Y'all gotta stop all this bull. In 2022, I'm zero tolerance of anybody not on their own spiritual path and growth. And if you can't bring me purpose, you can't help me in my growth, in my walk. You don't have to give me money. All you need to do is bring me some substance, bring me some advice, bring me some compliments or some support. All y'all sit up on my podcast, y'all listen, and y'all be talking, oh, what's she talking about? She crazy, she this, she that, what she do? But you still you still listening, and you still want to know. Because, yeah, she be speaking the truth. She be running her mouth. Yep. I'm going to keep running my mouth. I'm going to keep putting my art out. And if it rings with you, if it resonates with you, beautiful. Show me some love. Show me some support. Because pretty soon, all of this is going to be pay-per-view. It's going to be subscriptions only. You will no longer get free things because you don't like, you don't subscribe, you don't share. You just sit there and listen, and you got your criticisms, but you're not doing any of this. I do this because I am compelled to bring knowledge to people. They have to know. And then if I'm not doing that, then I get upset with myself. Like, okay, I have to tell my people what's happening. I have to warn my babies, my young people, my impressionable minds, the ones, young parents who are raising their babies. They need to break the patterns and the cycles of things we did not know, our parents did not know, our grandmothers did not know. Nobody taught us this. This generation, my generation, is here to set the record straight. And if you are doing this work, about this work, shout out to you. Shout out. There's a lot of us putting out the information. There's a lot of us walking the streets, mentoring, tutoring, building platforms, buying black, doing what we're supposed to do for our people. It's some of our people, let me say it again, some of the ones that look like us, y'all keep making us look real bad out here. Y'all making us look real bad. And it's terrible that it's a little percentage of y'all that you know that the mainstream media, the ones that put the news out to the masses, you know they're going to pick that little percentage out and blast it all on TV. There's nothing that we do they put out good. They're going to find the worst of us. And even though it's the worst part of them, they will never show you that on the news. They won't show you that in film, in marketing, on commercials. Okay? Let's open the third eye, our first eye. Tap in. Begin to see and feel and trust your own voice. Listen to the downloads. Take them in. Record them. Pass them down to your babies, to your seeds, and do not let up. This system is relentless. It's doing everything. It's murdering rappers every week. Every week you're seeing trauma. You're being traumatized. You're seeing black dead bodies once again. Like it started with Trayvon and then it kept going and going. Michael Brown. All these images. We just spoke about imagery and the effect on the African. Did you please rewind. This turned out to be a dope ass podcast. And I'm just going to put it on there. This is our going into, even though I don't celebrate the new year January 1st. Okay? That's for the people who are going along with the Julius Caesar calendar, whatever you want to call it. But I know that my people will be celebrating with the renewed nature, spring, where everything is blossoming, blooming, growing, renewing. Everything is sprouting again. That's my birthday. And we will be celebrating then. I have a lot of good things coming. There's documentaries coming. There's music coming. There's new artists on the roster. Shout out to all the independent rising artists. Please go over to patreon.com Black Rain. Okay, please become a Patreon. I will hook you up. I have a whole team, a squad of professionals who know how to market you, who know how to protect your intellectual property, to just get you started and get your name out there. Connections to the major platforms that you need to know how to expand your art. You cannot just in this time think that you rapping, even though you're a lovely rapper, I need you to expand your thinking when it comes to your rap. How else can you make money off of what you do besides your music, even though you're doing your music? Okay? You need a team. You need people who are tapped in, who know little tricks of the trade that you may not be privy to. Like, I try so hard to get people to trust the process, to invest in themselves. It's like people are afraid to invest in themselves because they think the internet is so easy. Oh, I can just make me a page and get me a few fans and I'm lit. No, everybody is doing that. Can we work on something that nobody's doing? And this shit is still beeping. Can we work on something that nobody's doing? This is what Black Rain Media is about. And we are reigning supreme in the media industry, where we are telling our own stories and we don't make no rules about it. We're not tiptoeing for corporate media, Hollywood, and we're making beautiful films that are politically correct. They're giving messages, they're uplifting the nation, they are educating the public. They're making differences in the people who participate in the films. They are benefiting. It's not like one-sided Hollywood. No, you don't have to sign your name away in blood over here. Okay? Black Rain Media, aka My Loud Whispers. So whichever one you want to hit up. Okay, and of course we're campaigning a workshop. If you would like to, it's a private workshop. Okay, you need to contact our page so that you can get information on what it is that's happening right now in the metaverse and how you can profit. If you all about your profit and you know who you are, don't come over here if you don't know thyself. Because that's another fee, so I can help you know thyself before I can help you get into the metaverse and be profitable with the gift that God gave you. I am all about profiting off of your gifts. Natural born gifts. No, it's not manufactured. Nobody told you to do it. It's something you're passionate about. You wake up every day thinking about doing it. And you have to do it or you stress the fuck out. So, please, serious inquiries only. Serious artists only. We're not playing games over here. Black Rain Media is real. You can believe it or not, or just stay over there. Keep listening and not acting. Get on the site. Patreon is where you can really be involved with me, because that's where I know that you're serious when you go over there and you select a package from the Patreon account. And it's not very expensive to invest in yourself and get all the information that you know you're going to need to go to the next level in your career. Because you can go get a job just over broke, go ahead. But we talking about careers over here. We talking about building legacies and empires. So you don't have to work. You can leave shit for your kids. Excuse my French. So I'm going to get off here because it's going on an hour and a half. It's like, listen. I'm coming back again. The workshop is on tomorrow, actually, December 22nd. And we're going to go at 2 p.m. If you're interested, I'll be looking for an email from you, and I will send you directions on how to get into the workshop. Very important workshop. Trust, you will not regret getting into it. It won't be a high fee. Excuse me. It won't be a high fee, but it will cost. But it won't cost a lot. Trust me. Just trust the process. Trust yourself. Invest in yourself as an artist, as an entrepreneur, as an intellect, as a leader, as a liberator. If you're on your spiritual journey, you can also participate, because I love to blend in the person that you are, your personality, what you do, what you love to do, what makes you go with the project that you're working on. It has to mesh. And that's very important to a lot of the projects that artists begin, but they're they're not into it. They're just having ideas all over the place, and it's not something that they really want to do. They have these, and all artists go through it. You have all these ideas piling up, but you need to zone in on one thing. And that is what's missing from the industry: artist development. How you deliver, how do you pitch to a room full of important people that can make you a film, put you on Netflix, HBO, Hulu, all these platforms, people that can speak about you in a room full of executives, and you can negotiate your own contracts. This is the type of things that Black Rain Media is on. If you are not on that level of your journey, then you need to stay over there, stay listening, and when you're ready, come talk to me. Okay, until then, you have been tuned in to New Birth Energy Podcast. Please go join the New Age Society platform. We are growing. We are knowing. All right. We want you to come. We want you to come and build with us. Come and grow our community of thinkers, critical thinkers, of business-minded entrepreneurs who are artists, okay, making heavy moves for the future, okay, Afro-futuristic, all right. And once again, dark matter readings, you will have a visual as well as an audio. Until then, peace and light, love and light, and I will see you soon on the next platform. Peace. It's okay to cry today. You've been holding it in, silent rage with empty pages. It's okay to cry today. Take this change with a grain and plant another seed. Nothing complete, all a heap. It's okay to cry today. Not getting sleep. You've been feeling weak, mentally beat. It's growth you crave. I've been that slave to the sex trade for a ring, in a house and a spouse, and all those romantic things, but it's okay to cry today. The reason why red ink spills the page, an outburst of the silent rage. I know it hurts, the surge that you avoid daily, the constant maybe. It's okay to cry. Don't hide your face. That's pride.